Good evening, everybody. How's it going out there? We're coming off a blowout victory of the Oilers over the Arizona Coyotes. Um, Pretty good bounce back game after a kind of a lackluster effort against the Washington Capitals. Oilers over the Coyotes tonight, 8-2. And I was kind of cheeky a little early, I guess. I said I got 99 problems, but the Arizona Coyotes 8-1, but I guess they got one back. Joining me this evening is my good friend Bob the Goalie. Welcome, Bobby.
Thanks for having me, Dirsa. Always appreciate the opportunity to come and talk some hockey with you.
Yeah, so I guess we'll recap tonight's game and then we'll get into some other Oilers pressing issues, I guess. I guess I could ask you what you thought of Stuart Skinner tonight, and what do you think of the decision to go back to him after a heroic effort and a losing effort against the Capitals there? What do you think of that move?
Well, first off, you can't gauge too much in this game because Stuart was he got as many shots this game as he got he got more shots in the first period last game than he did this whole game. Yeah. So this is like a night off for Stuart. But I'll be honest, these games are actually tougher as a goalie. You don't feel the rhythm of the game. You don't feel in it. It's tough to stay sharp. Like you're scanning the crowd for babes. That sort of stuff. Like it's really tough to stay focused. If you get under 20 shots a game, those are tough games. The 50-shot game, like you feel great. You're in that zone that you always hear goalies talk about. You're owning that game. You feel impenetrable. Even if they get a couple by you, it's nothing, right? Like you are just in it. Now, obviously, as a team, you don't want to give up 50 shots. I mean, the odds of you winning those kind of games aren't as strong. But I was interested to see that they went with back to Stuart in this one. I thought maybe this would be a game where you might put Jack back in to see if he can build some confidence against a weaker team. But on the flip side of that is, if you play like crap against a weak team, you're knocking down your confidence even more. And this was kind of a reward maybe for Stuart for putting a heroic effort up, but not getting the result that he probably should have. So Jay is smart. He knows what he's doing, and he likes to reward his players. This was his way of rewarding Stewie by giving him a bit of a nicer game.
You think it's that, or a coach just trying to bank some wins and kind of build some cushion here between, before they go back to Campbell?
It's probably a bit of both. But the thing is now, at what point do you put Campbell in? Like, right. if you're not putting him in against teams like Arizona, and in fairness, Washington, who isn't having the greatest year neither, then what are we saving him for? Are we going to put him against Minnesota, who, as well, they're not having the greatest year neither, so I guess that's an option, but they're much more. There'll be more of a challenge than with Arizona.
Yeah. So coming up is Friday against the Wild. So we do a little home and home series with the Wild. We play them in Edmonton on Friday, and then in Minnesota on Monday, and then there's Tuesday against Nashville. So maybe we're two more games away before Campbell gets the net. Maybe they don't go back to him until that Nashville game or the Minnesota game before the Nashville game.
I see that more likely. I think a lot of it will depend on how that first Minnesota game goes, really, to see who we throw back in net for the second one. But I do, looking at the schedule too, it looks like Nashville's a good option. St. Louis also isn't having the greatest start to their year, so we do have opportunities. So 4 more games here. I'll be honest, I'd probably like to see Jack play 2 of those 4 games. They're pretty tight. Like that's the 12th, 13th, 15th. So it's a span of 3 to 4 days. So to get Jack 2 more games, get him back to getting a rhythm of game and see what he's got, see how much progress he's made in his practices.
The game tonight was kind of a runaway, so I guess we'll get into some of the other stuff anyway. What do you think so far, like out of Campbell and Skinner for that matter? But
well, Campbell came out of the gate strong in game 1. That game against Vancouver, they won 5-3. Jack Campbell played elite. So now we're all like on cloud 9 because we got our goalie. Next game, he struggles mightily against Calgary. We lose 4-3. That's in a couple of easy ones. We throw Stewart in, and he He bailed. We don't win that game, but he bails out with a strong effort to keep us in that game. And then even Jack's next few games were okay, and then he kind of gets, something happened. He took a turn for the worse. He hit a slump, and he's pulled a couple good ones since, though. Like, it hasn't all been crap. The 3-2 win against Tampa, Jack was probably our best player. He was, it's probably his best game of the year, I think. I think it was probably just phenomenal on that one. A little while, then he followed up with the Carolina game where we lose, was it 7-2, I think it was? Yeah, 7-2 against Carolina, and he was terrible. And then we give him a 4-game break, and he comes back against the Oilers. We lose 3-0, but he plays really good. So he has flashes of it. The main thing we're battling with Jack right now is just any sort of consistency, because when he is off his game, he looks atrocious. When he's on his game, it's like, fine, that's the Jack we signed.
What was your headspace like as a goalie?
I got no space in my head. It's an empty shell.
Oh, that's why you're a goalie, I know. But no, like, were you hot-headed or cool, calm customer like Grant Fuhr, or somewhere in the middle, or?
So my game changed drastically, temperamental-wise, as I got older. So when I broke in, I was playing on a team that led the league in penalty minutes, and I was this young goalie who just kind of fit the mold of that team. Like, I just kind of became a community with my teammates. Right? You get caught in that atmosphere. So my first 2 years of playing hockey, I led all goalies in penalty minutes, because that's all of us were doing. We're taking penalties, and then as you know, I started getting into the more competitive stuff and in more serious hockey. Actually, one of the things that happened is we were playing a hometown tournament, and I was at this point, I thought, one of the best goalies in our town, like top 2 sort of thing. So I should have in my mind, I should get picked for the number 1 tournament team for this tournament we're going to. I didn't get picked. So then I'm like, okay, the number 2 team I should get picked on, because that's, and for sure the top 4 best goalies in town. I didn't get picked. And then the third team picked me up to be their backup goalie. It was a last-minute team, because that team had dropped out of the tournament, so they threw another team in. And then I got picked as the backup goalie. So now I'm like, I thought I was top 2. Now I'm all of a sudden top 6 max. And I talked to a good buddy of mine about it, who was on the number 1 team. I'm like, how did I not get chosen? Like, I felt like I was having a good year and everything. And he said, because nobody wants to kill the goalie's penalties. We just want you to stop the puck. He said there's other goalies that are almost as good as you, but they don't take penalties, right? So it's easier to play for the guy, and that smartened me right up, because penalties were keeping me off of good teams and good opportunities.
I'm kind of surprised you didn't get drafted by the St. Louis Blues.
Okay, this one's tough for me, Dirsa. I mean, So here's the thing. Like, St. Louis is my second favorite team, because I was fortunate enough that they gave me a shot in pro hockey, right? So automatically, they're my second favorite team.
So they molded Binnington after you. Perfect.
So whenever I watch St. Louis, like, I cheer for St. Louis. The only time I don't cheer for St. Louis is when they play Edmonton. And like the year they won the cup, I was in cloud nine. My second favorite team finally won the cup. And then it was like, this Binnington guy, like, when he burst on the scene, remember in his first locker room interview, they asked him if he was nervous for his first game. And he just said, do I look nervous? And I'm like, shit, that's a really cool response, especially from a rookie. That cool as ice. I loved it. I'm going to love this kid.
Yeah.
I have not loved the kid since the Stanley Cup win. Like, this attitude thing is going, I love what Craig Berube said. I love it. He's got to stop all that sideshow stuff and just concentrate on the puck.
Yeah.
Which is basically what my buddy, that defenseman, said to me then. Right? That was my eye opener. I kind of hope it happens to Binnington too, because not only has it lost focus as a team, like, his goaltending isn't good enough to back up all this trash talking he's doing, or this trash crap he's doing.
Was it Taves? I think it was Taves behind the net, or no, sorry, it was a Stahl. One of the Stahl brothers going behind the net, and he, tries to lay him out, and he biffs it. And I just saw a clip on Twitter and stuff, but to me, I didn't see the whole play, so maybe I'm talking out of school. But it looks like he does that, and his team didn't come to his aid. Am I wrong?
I don't think you're wrong. Now, he had an altercation with Stahl in the crease before that, right? So I think this was his chance where he thought he'd have a payback, right?
Yeah.
And so he takes initiative, and he definitely initiates that whole contact.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
And Stahl just runs him over like he's not even there. But you're right, St. Louis didn't come to it. I think the players are tired of that crap.
Yeah.
The coach has made it known he's tired of the crap. The players aren't going to throw their own guy on the bus by nature,
right.
But the coach has that privilege, so I like the fact that Ruby said something, and I hope that hits home to him. Because when he is on his game, he's not a bad goalie, but he's getting too distracted by all his other garbage he's doing.
You know, this is kind of off Oilers, but if your players aren't coming to the goalie's aid, I think that speaks louder than whatever Craig Berube is going to say about him in the media. Like
do you want to know something?
If your guys don't have your goalies back, then in that kind of stuff.
I'll tell you what, because like I said early on, I was a bit of a hothead goalie. You actually don't notice that your players are coming to your rescue. You're too caught up in your own red bubble. Like you're messing around with a guy, and then if guys are gathered around this sort of thing, and some guys are holding onto the other guy's shoulders, they're just kind of slow dancing, waiting for your little scuffle to end. But you don't really notice it until after the fact. Like, wait a minute, nobody came in, help me out. Like, I was after my own.
Yeah.
But in the heat of the moment, all you care about is making your statement.
But I mean, I guess if there's a supreme arrogance, it won't matter to him.
It won't matter. You'll see what you want to see.
Yeah.
So, like I said, I'm crossing my fingers that the problem is right now with St. Louis, like, the next option is Thomas Greiss, who hasn't been playing bad, but let's face it, St. Louis right now, with Bennington struggling and being a bit of a dickhead, and Greiss, like, what is he now, like 36, 37, you know, they're not too strong in that right now. And so now you're almost forced to play Bennington because you know what he's capable of. And you're hoping he'll turn things around.
In terms of Campbell, how long down the road do you think, hypothetically, before he kind of finds his game?
So the weird thing is, oftentimes it can take one game. Like, yeah, one game can make you or break you, or regain your confidence. Or like if Campbell had a Stuart Skinner game of 47 saves, I tell you this, Campbell is back. Like, you'll feel a groove. Like throughout the whole season, you're gonna have off games. Like Connor McDavid will have off games too. Like, it happens to everybody. That's athletics, right? You're not gonna be at your best the whole time. But it wouldn't be one of those games where it's a game he could build off. And so we could be one game away. We could be 2 months away. That's the problem. Like, it's all about confidence. That you need a game where he builds that confidence up and says, you know what, I can be that guy that can carry this team. That, like, he needs to steal a win for us, for him to get that confidence back.
And how much, you know, because I mean he's a big ticket now, right? He's a $5 million man, which I kind of laugh at that. We consider that a big ticket for a starting netminder, but how much were we paying Mikko to be a backup? Like, it's not that much different, right? So there's that, but what do you need to see from him before you take away from Stu and because to me you've kind of found your starter right now, and I don't know what's going on with my camera. It's on ultra blurry vision, but
you've never looked better to me when it's blurry like that.
Let's see if we can get it back. I don't know what's going on.
I think one thing we need to remember is we're actually lucky that Skinner is playing the way he is right now, and he's playing phenomenal. He is definitely taking over the reins here, and rightly so. He's earned it. So now we actually have that buffer zone where we can ride Stu while Jack finds his game, right? And we have that luxury. Like, we're not in a St. Louis situation where we have, you know, two guys aren't really doing too much at all, right? And we don't have a sideshow going on. The problem is, again, like you mentioned, it's the money, right? You pay Jack $5 million a year. You want to play him to get a return on your investment, and so there's that pressure that comes with it when you get paid that much. You don't like to think that a player thinks about that, but I bet you when you're struggling with confidence on every level, when you're sitting at home, I guarantee you the thought comes to your mind like, shit, I'm getting paid $5 million, I'm betting everything in. Like, it's gonna add to your depression, based on how you can't get your game going.
Yeah, there's a big mental aspect, I think, to, I mean, playing professional sports in general, but especially playing goal, because it's almost like playing golf, right? It's you against yourself.
When I got scouted, the scout took me out for supper, and really fancy too. We went to a Denny, so la di da, right? So,
High
and
end.
then we had a 3-hour conversation about my two favorite things, hockey and myself. So that was our conversation. And then, but we were talking about one of the questions he asked me was, how much do you think of the game as a goaltender is mental? How much is physical? Right? And I'm like, my instinct was to say, well, it's probably 50-50. And I vocalized this out loud. But I was like, it's probably 50-50. But then I'm like, it's maybe a bit more mental. And then he goes, yeah, it's like 65 to 70% mental. And then, the rest physical. Because you can have all the skill in the world, but if you don't believe that you're going to stop a puck, you're going to let it
in. Yeah.
And that is a big thing. Like, you'll see Marty Brodeur is one of the greatest goalies of all time. And some would argue the greatest. And I've seen him in some really crappy goals and have some really crappy games. So, and it'll stick with him for like 2 to 3 games. So the best in the world will struggle with it. It'll knock you down a notch or two. And as a goaltender, the problem is all your mistakes show up on the scoreboard, right? There's nobody else to cover for you. A forward can lose the puck all day long, and defense, a goalie can bail you out. Defense can lose the puck, goalie will bail you out. But the only thing that bails you out as a goalie is the net. That's not much of a bailout.
Or your post, last line of defense.
But to be honest, that's also one of the draws of the position. Like, as a goalie, like, personally for myself, I love that pressure. I love that pressure of being a difference maker one way or the other, especially against stronger teams where, like, I can make a difference this game.
Yeah. That Skinner performance against the Capitals, reminiscent of Ben Scrivens.
59 save shutout? That's amazing, right? That's crazy. That's got to be the best game Stuart Skinner's had in the NHL. It's unfortunate to end up in a loss. It's probably one of our worst defensive games. So, like, I thought Broberg was probably our best defenseman. He had the least ice time, right? Less chance to make a mistake, maybe. But
he's starting to find his game a little bit. Like, I didn't mind what I saw out of him today too.
He got a save today.
Yeah.
Solid.
There was one sequence in the first period. On the penalty kill where Skinner, I think, stopped like 6 shots, like point blank, bang, bang, bang. I mean, he was just unreal. He had Ovi's number for a while, and Ovi was having troubles. Like, he couldn't corral the puck, and it was bouncing on him a bit. But when he did get it away, Stewart was there, and it was phenomenal to see a performance like that. Just a shame it wasn't a loss, because I mean, he did everything that you could ever ask of your goalie in a game.
I will. One thing I give Washington credit for is they just didn't stop. So oftentimes there's a goalie that gets in your head. You start concentrating on making the perfect shot or the perfect pass, get the perfect shot. Washington never let up where they were shooting from. They would just come over and just bang, bang. But that power play sequence you're talking about. I went back and watched a couple of their PKs there a couple times, but that first one stood out for me because, he was getting bombarded from everywhere, but he never lost sight of that puck. Like, he tracked that puck excellent. Like, that clip there is something that I might just chop up and show. Like, I'm helping a couple goalies here in Edmonton, coaching them, and one thing I want to show them how this guy stays puck focused the whole time. It tracks that puck. Like, it was an amazing display of how he just never took his eyes off that puck.
I wanted to ask you too, how is it that two guys that are almost like the same physical stature can look so different size-wise when they're actually on the ice in the net?
Because when Jack Campbell is struggling, he tends to play smaller than what he is.
Yeah.
So one of the things you notice is when he goes down into his butterfly, he actually drops in his butterfly effectively. It's a solid butterfly. And then he repositions himself. He uprights himself, and then he actually brings his legs, like the V part of his legs, he actually brings in. And it actually decreases the amount of ice he covers up. And so right away, like, when he goes down, the fundamentals are there, he repositions, and he loses the width of his butterfly. so he ends up playing smaller than what he is. Stewart has a solid butterfly when he goes down, keeps it wide. He actually keeps his arms somewhat wider too. Jack will bring his arms in when he readjusts after his butterfly, and that's another confidence thing where he's just not feeling aggressive. He's not feeling big, and he's not being square to the shooter a lot. And that happens too when he goes down and comes across. He loses his stability. He loses his positional stability. So when he comes across, when he's down, he's off balance. He's taking a lot of pucks off the side, kind of facing more up the ice, and the puck's coming a bit more from this angle. I'm guessing that's some of the stuff that he's working on his movement, on staying square to shooters and that sort of thing. A lot of times you go back to your fundamentals, start over again, and just perfect the stuff you already know, but I just have stopped doing.
Did you have Matthew Garon kind of Splitsville Jean-Claude Van Damme kind of abilities?
So I'm lucky enough. This is embarrassing because whenever I did physical testing and any competitive team I've been on, I always finish near the bottom in the flexibility scale. And as a goalie, that's embarrassing. But I'm 6'4", so I could go post to post all right with the losing. I've done the splits a couple times, but I trust you. It was by accident. It was never done intentional, and I probably walk funny nowadays because of it. When I first started, I didn't play minor hockey, so I had no coaching going into it. The first time I goalie equipment on, I was 17 years old. All I wanted to be was a goalie. That's my passion. Whenever I played outdoor hockey, I had shin pads on. I was the goalie. Floor hockey, I was always goalie. So I was going off just rare, maybe some raw talent, but also just that want. This is all I want to be in life. So when I went for my first hockey I joined the league at 18 in the senior league, and we had tryouts, and I made the team, and the coach took me aside and said, yeah, he gave me the announcement that I made the team, so I was pretty pumped about that. And then, he said, we're looking forward to working with you and that sort of stuff. And I gave him the heads up, I'm going to give you a heart attack, coach, because I have no style. And he said, I don't care about it. As long as you stop the puck, that's all that matters to me. 6 games into the season, he pulls me aside. He's like, we got to do something. Because the other team would come over the blue line, and he said he would hold his breath. I would start flopping around like some fish out of water and somehow keep the puck out. He wouldn't breathe again until the puck went up the ice. So, but I was effective, and the guy who was a starter before I got there, I ended up taking his job because he was hurt by that. So our coach was actually pretty smart. He actually made last year's starter, who became my backup, he made him my goalie coach. And that guy he took the reins. So he actually taught me a butterfly. I wasn't doing a butterfly. He taught me just agility, how to come across intact. And it's amazing. It's amazing what that does because it's a lot less wasted movement too. You hear these sayings all the time when you watch the games about how the goalie's making quiet movements, right? And that's what you want. The best saves you make are the ones that hit you in the chest because you were in a position to read the whole play the whole time.
Yeah.
Yeah, the big split saves, the goal, and the diving stick saves and stuff are great. But there's a lot of those are
yeah.
The best thing you did is just not give up, right?
Yeah. Yeah, the around the world glove saves are pretty to watch, but you were caught out of position, yeah. I noticed the other night in that Washington game that Stewie has a little bit of that Matthew Garon, flexibility, Splitsville capability in him. I don't think he's going to go into the splits to intimidate people like Garon did all the time, but he definitely can do it.
That's a good observation, Dirsa. That's a name you don't hear much of anymore, Matthew Garon. And that's also a comparison that wouldn't come naturally because Garon was he caught the other hand too, right? So he's a left-handed goalie. But that's something I'm going to look for now when I watch him next time.
Is Stewie a right catch?
No, Stewie catches left, but Garon caught with right hand. Yeah.
Oh, okay, yeah. So today on Oilers Now, they had GM from Phoenix, Bill Armstrong, was on, and so I'm gonna start a new segment, I guess, on my show Well, mine and Dash's show. He's busy right now. He went to tonight's game, but hopefully get him back on our show in the new year when life kind of settles down for him. He's been pretty busy, but I'm going to call it hypothetical highway. Anyways, what Bill Armstrong was saying is that Arizona is basically open to take bad contracts, so they can take 2 more bad contracts. So, there's all these scenarios out there like Jacob Chikrin from Arizona. You hear the Erik Karlsson name come up. John Klingberg, Radko Gudas, some defensemen to come and kind of help out on our back end. And I think that's an area of need. But, I mean, if they're going to take a bad contract, maybe all that talk of Patrick Kane or Taves or something out of Chicago, put your pie in the sky and I don't know, like out of all those names, which one would intrigue you the most in an Oilers jersey?
Chychrun.
Yeah.
Because Chychrun he had that breakout year offensively, and that's not I don't think that's the true Chychrun. I mean, that was a great year. He has an offensive side to him for sure, and we need that from our back end too. But that was a Todd Marchand moment where you go out of your box and put up big numbers, and then go back to what you are, right? And I think, but having Chychrun, who he is still an effective player. He's a good puck mover. I think out of those 3 guys, like Klingberg and Karlsson, and again, those are 2 elite D-men, especially with the year that Karlsson's having, crazy. I think Chychrun, of those 3, is better defensively as well. He also plays the body more. He's known to control his weight around a bit more. Can be a bit nastier, that sort of stuff. And I think that's something that we're missing too on the back end. I think he's a better package overall. Obviously, Karlsson and Klingberg are great defensemen. I think both of them are underrated defensively, even though they're focused on them as their offensive side. But I think Chychrun is just a better all-around fit.
What do you think of Radko Gudas in Florida there? Because they're not having a great season, so prying somebody like that might be somewhat doable, maybe-ish.
So here's the thing with Florida. They're not having a great season yet. I think that's one of those teams that's still kind of bubbling. And there's going to be a spike here yet. Like, you're also, like, Barkov's got that illness going on. So they're still kind of adjusting with some of their new guys they got going on too. Huberdeau was a loss, but I actually think that Chuck was one of the things that they were kind of missing from their team before. And Chuck's played really good for them, to be honest.
Yeah.
They got a good goaltending duo. Matthew Knight's taking over the number 1 job. But he's still kind of learning that role as well. So you're getting some kinks here and there as he takes on that kind of workload. So here's the thing with Gudas. I personally am not a Gudas fan. That doesn't mean he's not a good player. Obviously, my opinion doesn't count for that much. But he has that. He takes too many stupid penalties for my liking.
Yeah, there's a bit of nasty to him though, and
I don't mind that nasty. Yeah. I don't mind that nasty, but some of this nasty is just stupid.
Yeah.
Like he takes too many penalties where the play is going up the ice, and he decides to give this guy a hack. Like, now you're taking out a breakout, and that sort of, like,
yeah,
ill-advised penalties.
Yeah, I mean, ideally, I mean, you're still looking for that Adam Larson replacement, but Larson wasn't.
That's the name that came to my mind too. If you're looking for that Adam Larson, then maybe you're right. Gudas is the guy.
But Larson wasn't a bonehead about it either, right?
That's the difference to it.
He took hard-nosed penalties, but he didn't take stupid ones.
Yeah. Maybe the occasional one, but not to the degree Gudas does. Like, I've seen him stall rushes when Florida breaks out because he decided to give this guy a hack in the shins or just that extra shot in the back of the head. Like, just pointless stuff.
It does kind of intrigue me just to kind of walk down the thought process of Erik Karlsson on the ice with McDavid. That would be a lot for other teams to handle. And if you did go that route, I don't think you could pair him with Nurse. I don't think that would work at all. But it would be interesting because you definitely have a really mobile defense
I think one of the things that motivates Erik Karlsson is to be the main guy. So when he was in Ottawa, he was the main guy, and he was elite, and he was in the Norris conversation. He was the all-star all the time. He comes to San Jose, and now he was sharing the main guy status with Brent Burns.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, he almost disappeared. He was still effective and good, but he wasn't the Erik Karlsson that we all kind of knew. And now Burns is Carolina, and now look what Karlsson's doing again. He needs to be the guy.
You bring that up, and it makes me want to kind of rewind a little bit to last summer. So if both were available and you had the cap space and that wasn't an issue, between Burns and Karlsson, who would you rather?
I take Burns.
I think I'm with you because I think there's a little bit more of a physical edge brought there. And I guess if it was in the summer, we wouldn't know that Erik Karlsson was going to bust out offensively like he has.
But... No, that's right. You'd be basing on track record, right? And Karlsson was, he tracked down there for a while, but then he steadied himself, which was fine. But no, again, there's a physical element. There's also a bit of a fear element. Like Burns has got a cannon, and he's also a bit of a loose cannon in regards to throwing his weight around. And so there's also, guys, that's one of those guys that you kind of second guess before you come down his defensive side. Like, oh, this guy could smoke me one good.
So I will go through quickly out-of-town scoreboard, and we'll talk about some of the games that have already happened. So right now the Rangers are up 5-1 over the Vegas Golden Knights. All of a sudden I'm a Rangers fan tonight. Sharks are ahead of the Canucks 5-4, and there's no goals from Erik Karlsson in that so far. Yeah, the Capitals beat the Flyers 4-1, and I'll save this one for the last, but Flames beat the Wild, boo, 5-3. Bruins shut out the Avalanche. Bruins are still rolling, and my fiance is giving a fist pump to the sky because she's still kind of a fair weather Bruins fan, and there's not much bad weather in Bruins world this year so far. This team we know, the Edmonton Oilers beat the Arizona Coyotes 8-2, and how about a 5-goal performance from Tage Thompson? As the Buffalo Sabres took Johnny Gaudreau and his Columbus Blue Jackets, and I think, that cannon went off 4 times in Columbus, but I don't know, there's probably a few lights that needed to be purchased at Home Depot for the goal judge in a 9-4 Sabres win over the Jackets.
I love watching this Tage Thompson, and I'm gonna blow my own horn here. But I did one of the guys I said that could push 50 goals this year would be Tage Thompson. I thought he broke out last year. Well, he did break out last year, but I watched a couple of Buffalo games, and his hands, like he's a elite stick handler. Like he really is, and that's what stood out to me. This shot that he's showcasing, I did not see this shot last year. Like I would caught a couple of Buffalo Sabres game, but like he's got a cannon too that I was unaware of. That's an extra weapon he has.
Yeah, there's a good wrist turn snapshot there. Neil Garrity's watching on YouTube, and so is the chief Michael Hebert. And Neil saying, does Trouba want out of New York? Can you imagine him with Darnell Nurse? And Hebert answers that for Neil, says, I hate Trouba. He's one of the few people I hate that I wouldn't love if he was on my team. Usually when I have a dislike, I'd love them as an Oiler. Oh, man, that's an interesting thought, though. That Trouba's like Niemelainen, but a little bit more refined, right? Like, he hits like Nemo was hitting when we first had him up last year. I've kind of found that this year Niemelainen hasn't been that, second coming of Brian Marchment this year. He isn't looking for those big, annihilation hits. He's still hitting people, but it's not the same hit.
I think it's one of those cases where he came up last year and he wanted to make an impression, and he was throwing these WWE slams everywhere.
Yeah.
And they were epic. And he has won a couple this year, but I think he's trying to show he's more than just a one-hit wonder kind of thing. Like, he wants to refine his game, and that takes a bit more doing to establish that part of it. So there's going to be a bit of a struggle there. So he'll go down to Bakersfield, find that aspect of it, and put the two together and come up and be a lot more effective. But he wasn't useless, but he wasn't being the showcase stopper, that's for sure. I'm interested, though, on what Neil was speculating about Trouba wanting out of the Rangers. Has there been rumors that he wants out of the Rangers? I haven't heard anything about that.
They're just struggling a little bit this year, so maybe that's why he's thinking that.
They are struggling a bit. They're a middle-of-the-pack team right now, but they're also like Florida to me. I think they're one of those teams that's kind of bubbling. They still got most of their guns from last year. They just haven't been able to build off of last year's momentum. So they're on the cusp, but they could go either way, really. I think the Rangers have a better chance to fall out of the playoffs this year than what Florida does, in my mind. I think Florida will find their game yet.
I think the Rangers. Shesterkin is just kind of going through a little stretch right now. I think he'll turn it around.
I think so too. Like he's got all the goods, and he's he didn't win the Vezina by fluke. He's not pulling a Jim Carrey here. He's a solid goaltender. This year, I'd say again, like I don't think he's played right now in the first quarter of the season. I don't think he's played even like a top 10 goalie in the NHL right now. And that's one of the reasons why the Rangers aren't a top 10 team in the NHL right now either. Other goalies are stepping up and kind of taking that place. Other goalies are kind of falling, and it's just part of the shuffle that goes on.
Neil kind of answered your question. He doesn't want out. I just want him to.
You know what? And this is where I'm going to disagree with Michael. So I also didn't like Trouba when he was a Winnipeg Jet, of course, because because of what he does to us, right? And he's frustrating to play against, and he has that side to him. Now I've caught a couple of games as a Ranger. I actually think he's become better as a Ranger than he is as a Jet. I think there's something about that C on his chest that's grabbed another gear in his game. Maybe he's not producing the points anywhere, but you notice him on every shift. Not just counting that smoke and hit he threw the other day, but that he's just aggressive in every corner puck battle. Like he's taking his leadership seriously, and he's showing it out there in every shift.
So apparently I'm supposed to take you off the air for disagreeing with you, Bear.
Michael, I miss you, buddy.
Oh, man.
It might be the punch to the head, Mike.
Yeah.
Give me that, right?
Thoughts on Bouchard kind of, getting benched there a little bit in that Capitals game. And you know what? Tonight, early in the first, he kind of got turnstiled sort of at the red line there, and it led to a chance, but luckily it didn't cost us. I don't know what it is, but this, and it's not just Bouchard. I don't want to single him out on this, but it seems like, it's either misreads or underestimating the speed of forwards going the other way. But there's been several times where our D get kind of caught either looking and turning the wrong way, and it's either at the blue line or the red line, and they're giving up premium ice. And I don't know how we stop that. Because Manson's got to be saying something to these guys, but you see it happening over and over again.
I'll have to look for that, Dirsa, because I haven't seen them turn the wrong way as much as I notice. They get stuck flat-footed, and that stuff's coming off our turnovers. So we're moving off the ice, and then we turn it over at center or even at the other team's blue line, and now we're flat-footed, and we get caught off guard there. We seem to be that split-second late reacting to it, and now they're putting us up down the wing, right?
Yeah, and kind of almost switching from going on offense to defense, and not giving enough respect to the forwards leaking out. You can't be stride for stride with some of these elite forwards and expect to hold your own. You gotta got to be behind them, right? You can't let them get behind you.
And yeah, like I said, I think it originates from the turnovers that we do at from the center to their blue line, because we are rushing up the ice, and then all of a sudden we're that split second reacting. One thing I have noticed, though, hasn't happened as often as it did in the first 10, 12 games of the year, is that stretch pass up the middle that was splitting our D. Right now they're starting to beat us along the boards more so, but so it's catch-22. It's one thing or the other. Either they're hitting that pass up the middle and splitting us, or they're beating us right now along the boards because we're that split second late reacting to it.
Who was sharpening Kulak's skates at the beginning of the year?
I know, right?
Fire that guy into the sun. Neil's asking, what do you think about? Would you rather see your D and forward taking away passing lanes, or selling out and blocking shots in front of you?
Passing lanes, 100%. I'm one of those guys who thinks there's too much shot blocking going on. As a goalie, if a guy's gonna block a shot, you damn well better block the shot, because at this point you're just screening me, right? There's so many goals that go in off a guy that deflections are the worst to stop.
Does it frustrate you when defensemen are tipping pucks in all the time on you?
Yeah, yeah. And the other thing is, it is a bit unnecessary. The logic behind it, it's a skill. I understand the skill, I understand the timing, and there's a place for it. But if you're within 6 feet of the guy, yeah, block the shot. It's these shot blocking that you're trying to do 20 feet away from the guy. That's the goalie is seeing it as good as you are at that point. Let him stop the puck. Right? I think they're getting hurt more at those long distance ones because they're having a tougher time reading the puck. When you're 6 feet away, it's just a reaction, and
sure.
you just stand there and you just don't move. Right?
You're doing the Sean Horkoff and blocking with your face.
20 feet away, you're oftentimes moving into the shoot lane to block the shot, and now that movement, you're coming across, the puck's coming, you're coming across, and now you're actually a bigger deflect threat than you are a block threat. And there's lots of unnecessary injuries to blocking shots that from 20 feet away that you don't need. Like, as a goalie, you want to feel the puck, you want to stop the puck. There is a place for it, like I said, but it gets overdone.
Yeah.
I'm also a bit old school where, in my day, we were playing. As a goalie, you were told to play the shot. If it's a 2-on-1, you play the shot. The defenseman stays in the middle, and then they rotate and take away the pass, right? So it's just, I treated every 2-on-1 like a breakaway until it became evident that my defenseman was lost. Then I had to kind of retreat and make sure I catch that backdoor pass.
So
if the defenseman's doing his job, he's staying in the middle till they get to about the hash mark, so then you rotate over to take away the pass and the guy intended to get passed to.
Are you okay with, as a last resort, Nurse kind of flooding the ice on his belly, trying to take away that cross ice pass then?
Yeah, I am. Yeah, I mean, again, there's that chance for deflection, but what you're doing there, then
you're making the pass tougher, right?
Yeah,
or trying to.
Yeah. You're not blocking the shot. You are doing your intention, which is to stop the pass across. Yeah, it's a desperate move, but it works quite a bit. I mean, Chris Russell was pretty damn good at it for a long time.
I mean, Nurse is 6'4", so that makes a pretty big, a lot of ground.
Yeah.
I don't hate it either. I just if it's all the time, then it's predictable. I mean, you have to kind of pick and choose a little, I think, but.
Yeah. The other tricky part too, as a D-man, is your slide trajectory. So if you're going to do that, make sure that your slide trajectory goes past the net. If you are stopping that pass across and you're going into the net,
yeah,
you're scoring on your own goalie, right? So.
Yeah. Know where you are on the ice. What are your thoughts on when? And we've seen it the last three coaches, but loading up, Leon and Connor, and tonight they kind of left that alone. To me, tonight probably wasn't the night to split that up. You needed a win, and I think with Hyman with them, that is the best recipe for success by loading those guys up. It doesn't seem to me like if you have Leon and Connor and you have Yamamoto or Puljujärvi or really anybody else with them, nothing seems to happen. But with Hyman, it does. I think he stirs the drink.
And the weird part is, though, that you could put a Hyman on any line and he'd be that guy on that line. Like, good God, he's the hardest worker I don't think he would change the way he plays with McDavid and the way he plays with Devin Shore.
Right.
Like, he just, like, he wins every battle. Is so tenacious. I'm actually a big proponent of loading up lines. I understand the thinking and the reasoning and the need for at times to split them up, but my goodness, even if you have the best defensive line or defensive forwards out there, like, how do you stop the two best players in the world, like McDavid and Draisaitl? And in the end, they're going to figure it out.
Yeah.
The two best players in the world will get stopped a time or two, and then they'll figure it out how to get around them. And that weapon is just like, it's like, my mouth drops open when I watch those guys together.
Yeah, I don't know. Like, I don't think you can put together a checking line in the NHL that can really stop that.
Not sustain it. Like, you'll stop in a couple of rushes. Maybe you even stop him for a game. All right, maybe you do that. But let's say a playoff series, you're not stopping him for 4 games. Like, you're not doing it.
Yeah. What do you think of Nuge? He scored a pair tonight and tied Coffey for 209 career goals as an Oiler, and he's off to his best season as an Oiler quietly.
Okay, first off, I did not see Nuge having this kind of start to the season. Like, his points-wise, I understand points-wise. Like, I think I had him down for like 60-some points this year. But I thought, like, his goal trajectory kept coming down. It almost seemed like he was shooting less. I figured he started taking that defensive side of his game a lot more seriously. I used to call him a poor man's Datsuk kind of thing, like, where he was just as good defensively as he was offensively. Not to the scale Datsuk was, obviously, but that kind of mold. And so he started focusing less on offense, more on defense, and kind of evening his game out that way. And now all of a sudden he's just decided, no, I'm going to be a scorer. He's figured out the defensive side, so I'm going to go back to my offensive game now that I've got both weapons in my arsenal. And this, like, everything's just going in for him. Like, it's been fun to watch. I figured he'd get his points because he plays the power play, but I thought he'd be getting more off the assist portion of the power play. But, like, he's become like one of the snipers. He's the other weapon on the other side of where Draisaitl's playing.
Ken Holland gets kind of his share of flack, and some deserved, and I think some undeserved. But a subtle little move that he made was dealing Dmitry Samorukov to St. Louis Blues for Klim Kostin. And tonight, I think it's about halfway through the first, he rocked a Coyote, and I thought for sure that was going to be a fight. Like, I was looking for guys coming to get him, because it seems like any big hit, clean or not, if the fight's on. And it didn't happen in the first, and he scores a goal, gets an assist, and end of the game he takes a few cross checks from Cassian in the back, and Cassian drops the gloves and goes at it with them, and it looked like Cassian actually took the worst of the exchange, and Cassian was mad on the ice and didn't want to let up after. I don't like that. You're down. That to me, that the fight's over. You stop and you respectfully go to the room or the penalty box, and that's it. But anyway, what do you think of him and the subtle little move? Because I don't think Samorukov was gonna see much time with this team, and now it looks like they've got a regular guy to kind of plug along in their bottom six. I don't know if I would score the trade a win yet. I think it's a little early for that, because who knows what Dmitry Samorukov is going to be. But as of right now, it's they got a serviceable player out of the deal.
Well, you're banging on about Samorukov. Probably not going to get much of a break with the Oilers, especially with the minor league depth we do have on D. Too many guys that can play his game that we already have on the roster. This Costin guy, I do remember in the St. Louis organization, like not much at all. So when we picked him, the name rang a bell when we got him, but I'm like, in my mind, I'm like, okay, we're picking him up to toughen up our farm team. Bunch of kids down there. He's going to be out there to help protect him. A guy will call up off and on kind of thing to get some spot duty, send him back down, sort of thing. I thought when he first came on, game 16 is when we first called him up. He came out of the gate hard with 3 great games in a row. And then he kind of leveled off a bit. And in all honesty, he's been on even keel. He's probably been playing like at an average level until tonight. Like he took another step tonight. Like he was engaged physically, offensively, defensively. He got the Gordie Howe hat trick. Like he was very, very noticeable. Again, I'm with you. We don't really know what we have in him yet. Like he's played 10 games for us now or something like that. And so there's still a lot to be weaned out in regards to what Costin will do for us long term or even for this season. In regards to the fight, I think obviously Cassian initiated that fight because I think Cassian just wanted to do something memorable in his return to Edmonton.
I think he was trying to, avenge a little bit of a hit from Costin that happened too. But, Cassian really didn't see a lot of ice tonight, and get your name on the score sheet. So
yeah, and Cassian he's got 1 goal this year, so I'm not sure what he's getting for ice time in Arizona. He was out of the lineup there for a while. I don't remember if that was injury related or was he being scratched. I'm not sure.
Healthy scratched, yeah.
Yeah, jeepers. So it's too bad, but it looked like the fans gave him a good round of applause. And he did do some really good stuff while he was an Oiler, for sure. 100%. He was very well loved. He had a role. But of all the players that I found the pandemic hit the most, it was Zach Cassian. When they came back and played in the bubble, this is a guy who he fed off the fans. He fed off the energy. So in that play-in qualifier series against Chicago, Cassian was useless. Like he wasn't feeding up nothing. He wasn't throwing hits. Like he was just. It looked like he had lead in his skates, and it seemed like.
And he was the exact same player in the Winnipeg series too.
Well, and the thing is, even once the fans came back, he had now played that way for so long. It was tough for him to find that energy back, or that energy in his game back, and that's a tough habit to get out of. Really? He just never really got it back consistently. He had moments again after that, but he never got it back consistently as he did before then.
I think there was like 2, maybe even 3 years where he had 5 games that were good, and that's just not good enough. And I mean tonight, I think it shows, why he's expendable for us. You have him as kind of an energy guy and kind of I wouldn't really call him an enforcer because those don't really exist anymore.
Yeah.
But, Klim Costin, I don't think is really known for his enforcing abilities, and yet he held his own and probably got the better of Cassian tonight. So if you're using Cassian to send a message, I don't think you're sending much. So,
yeah.
You're using Morse code in the digital world. So
we do need guys like Costin and stuff to do more of that because we can't really afford for Nurse to be doing all that work. We need him on the ice a bit more.
Yeah, and really the same thing with Kane when he's back too. I mean,
that's the other name of the dimensions. So we're on the same wavelength there. Yeah.
Yeah, they're almost too valuable to be using to settle scores. And you know what? Like there's a big push on Oilers now, almost on the daily with Stauffer. This team needs some more toughness. I think this team needs some more defense more than they need some more toughness. If we can get some toughness in our defense, I think that's really the way I'd like to go. But I think the days of the George Larac, Dave Semenko, Dave Brown, all the Daves, I love that time. I mean, it gets you out of your seat, but I think we've moved away from that. I mean. Well, there was a fight tonight, but it still wasn't much of a fight. It's not, I think the last real good fight, honestly, I saw at an Oiler game was between Jujhar Khaira and Cal Clutterbuck, and that's I don't know. I think that's probably 6 or 8 years ago now. Like it's a long time.
Uh, there definitely still is a place for it in the game, for sure. But you're right, though, that role, that you got to be able to be a hockey player.
Yeah.
You got the last true enforcer I think we have right now. Well, there's still like Ryan Reeves, but you see him, like he's jumping around from team to team now. You got this Delorier in Minnesota, I guess could be one. He fights a lot, but he's not a bad skater either. I know when Hartman came to the NHL, he was listed more as a scrapper, and now he's like a hell of a goal scorer all of a sudden. Well, he's a bit off this year, but he had the element to his game. But yeah, there used to be a time where you could take a break when the fourth line was out there, and let the two fourth lines guys duke it out for a while, and then the elite scorers come out. Now you can't take a break at all because all four lines can skate and they can move the puck and do some damage.
If his last name wasn't Tkachuk, I mean Brady Tkachuk is probably the this generation's kind of guy that you'd want. Can play, can skate, and can do that other stuff too if you need it.
Brady Tkachuk is in the mold of like a Rick Tocchet.
I guess I mean Evander is that same guy, but we'd need to clone him so that we could have the scoring Kane and the tough guy Kane.
Having said that, though, I don't think Evander has had a fight yet with the Oilers, has he?
I don't know if he has or not. There might have been a couple altercations last year. I don't know.
He's had some pushing matches, some roughing penalties, but I don't think he's dropped them yet.
Yeah, that might be correct. I think there was one game where Nurse took the fight for him. It's kind of a gentlemanly. I'll get this one. So McDavid decided tonight too to take the lead back in goal scoring from that kid down there in Dallas.
So McDavid, my goodness, I don't think I've said this before on your show. I can't stress it enough. We can't take for granted that we live in the Connor McDavid era. I don't miss an Oiler game. I probably wouldn't miss it anyways. Even when I can't make it on time, I PVR the game and then watch it after, sort of thing. And the main reason is because I don't want to miss what McDavid does. Like, he does something every game. He can have a bad game, and he'll have that one rush where, like, oh man, like, this was worth the wait. Like, what must it be like to walk around the world knowing that you're the best NHL player in the world? It's crazy to see what he can do.
This is in a different direction, but I was tonight. I'm talking to I've got a friend that lives in Worcester, Massachusetts, just outside of Boston, and he's a big Bruins fan, and he politely told me that he was an Oilers fan until we beat them twice in the in the Stanley Cup final. But since the Gretzky days, he's been an Oiler fan. So I don't think we play Boston until like the end of February. And I'm gonna have him on the show, but it's kind of funny because I said to him, I feel blessed now because we get to see McDavid and Draisaitl, and it's sort of like reminiscent of watching Gretzky and Curry, but Draisaitl's probably more closer to Messier, gentle mess, than really Yari, right? Because I mean he's a horse out there, and he says, yeah, but you guys need more than that. They have no clue, that we picked up Evander Kane. They have no clue that Zach Hyman is American. All they want to market is McDavid and Draisaitl. So they're no clue that Nuge is. I mean, he knows about all our first round draft picks, but no clue that Nuge is on pace for a career year. I mean.
Yeah.
And we look at our team right now, and before tonight it was the depths of despair. Everything is the sky is falling, and all of that. And you know what? I don't really buy into that. I know there's going to be ebbs and flows to a season. It was disappointing that they didn't get it done against Washington with Stewie's kind of, valiant effort, but that's going to happen.
In fairness, we didn't deserve to win that game.
No. And that's okay. I like winning some games you don't deserve to win, but for me, the sky isn't falling, and I'm not in this depths of despair. I still, think this is a good team, but if you're looking for reinforcements to be coming tomorrow, I think you're going to be disappointed. Like I don't really see a lot of movement on the trade front really happening until the deadline. So it's kind of up to the guys on the ice to kind of tread water until then. And I don't think Kane gets back until mid-February at the earliest.
Yeah, that'd be the earliest.
Yeah, but I do think they can, stay in playoff contention, with what they have, and guys like Fogel and McLeod are going to come back, and I think Yamamoto, like I wrote an article. It hasn't come out yet, but the other day for kind of the network, and I was doing some stats and going through. Before tonight, there were 15 combined forwards, and not all of them are obviously playing, but there were 15 combined forwards on this team that through 26 games only had 12 goals. Tage Thompson had 5 tonight. I mean, it just that's got to come around. I mean, they can't keep not doing anything. I think, anyways, maybe they can, but and Derek Ryan scores tonight. I mean, I guess it's Arizona, so maybe you don't even count it, but so there was a little production from the bottom guys, and if there was any disappointment for me in tonight's game, it's that some of those bottom 6 guys probably didn't get enough time. I would have liked to seen a little bit more from Holloway and Puljujärvi and Hamblin, because I thought they had actually a really strong first period and were looking good out there, but they didn't get much time after that. And this, to me, tonight's game is the time to give those guys, Yamamoto, all these guys that are on the schneid, get them out there, give them the opportunity. I guess I could work against you though, like if you give them too much and they don't get anything done, then that even hurts the confidence more. But yeah, like the whole.
It goes back to what you were saying earlier though, as this may have been a statement game. Like after you needed the win, you needed the confidence. So I don't think I don't know what the ice times were today. I don't think they put up obscene ice times on your top 6. But probably didn't rest them as much as you would in a 7-1 game, and because you did want them though to feel that for sure taste of victory and get everybody's wheels going and what have you. For me, I'm with you though, especially with Puljujärvi. I think this would have been a good game for him to get more opportunity to get off the schneid a little bit. Like he's been playing good, he's just not putting up any numbers.
I give credit to him for kind of adjusting his game. And some people will question, well, now that he's playing physical, does that take away from the rest of his game? There wasn't really much of the rest of his game. I mean, exactly. I don't want to be mean, but it's
it's the truth.
You weren't cashing in. You're an NHL player, so how do you be effective if you're not scoring? Then you become a physical threat. And I think he's leading the team in body checks. I mean, and to me, I'm happy for him. That's great. I like that. Like, I think, to be a good checker and a physical presence, $3 million a year is probably too much money. I mean, that was the problem with Cassian, right? If he was $1.5 million player, you probably could still find a spot for him, but $3 million was too much to pay a guy just to be physical. And I feel the same way about Puljujärvi, but other people will give Yamamoto, they'll cut him a lot of slack. I don't really, because I see the production, basically the same. He might have been dealing with a concussion the whole season, lingering effects or whatever. But I think if it's really bad and that is something, then you need to tell people and not be out there. So I feel like if you're kind of out there, it's up to the medical staff and you to make sure you're good. And if they're missing it, but you're not right, then speak up. And that didn't happen. So I'm not sure I'm gonna buy him a bunch of excuses. And Puliarvi might be having linger effects from his hip surgery and all that, but you're out there and I don't know. I think these guys are in a slump. I think there's a confidence problem, and I wonder actually if the Oilers are doing enough to address that kind of thing with sports psychologists and all of that fun stuff. And that was something that I think they should look at. But credit to Jesse for changing his whole regimen. And you know what? I was gonna ask you about that too. Like maybe it's something as simple as his fucking game day routines. Like is he mentally ready to play games? I don't know. I don't know what his thought process is. I know he's this happy-go-lucky, always smiling kid, and I love it, and it's great. But I want him to succeed, but it's not happening. But I'm glad that he isn't just pouting and he's changes his game to find a different way to try to be effective.
So there's a number of things here. One of the things, so Puliarvi, one thing I'd love to see is the fact that he hasn't stopped his work ethic on the ice. Like he works his butt off out there, and so he's embraced that part of it. Like this is what I can do. I can work my butt off and throw my weight around and be a nuisance in front of net, that sort of stuff. That's great. The problem is, I think, is the fact that he was a first round draft pick, 4th overall. We've had him up there at top 6. There's expectations that go with all of that, and it just hasn't happened with him. And now we're paying this money, and if we paid him 3rd, 4th line money, that'd be great because he's a great 3rd, 4th line player. He really is. The way he's playing now, he's very, very effective down there. The problem is with the expectations of him being this high draft pick that we have, and we're still waiting for him to break out. I think this is one of those things where it's probably. I feel like the reason why the Oilers signed him to a 1-year contract was to showcase him for a trade, because he had no trade value leading into this year because his play had dropped off a lot. So we were hoping for a bit of a breakout here so we could trade him for something of value. It hasn't happened yet. We might have to trade him for something of a lot less value, and he goes to a team with a lot less pressure for him. Like if he goes to the Minnesota Wild, he doesn't become their first-round draft pick. He becomes a player they've acquired.
Right.
So already your expectations are less.
So Neil, like in the chat here, brings up a point that I started thinking too. Is remember in the 80s Oilers days, you have Curry and then Tikkanen, and you always have a translator, like Yari used to say.
Yeah.
Is that something that they might need to think about? Getting a line mate maybe for him that's Finnish.
That's an interesting point.
Or is it or is it kind of like, well, yeah, but then he better succeed right away, otherwise you've got an asset, or you've used an asset to get this player for a player that is kind of stagnant, and you might not qualify in the summer, and you're letting go anyway, so it's the ship's already sailed kind of, but it hasn't left the port.
I think Neil is onto something there, but I think that is something then that should have been addressed earlier. Like you're saying, that ship is probably already sailed.
Yeah, like it made me look, Janmark, but Janmark's Swedish, so there might be a little bit of a hiccup with they might have stuff in common, but yeah, I mean, I don't know.
He's not, because when he was first here, and then he went back to Finland, and when Ken Hall went and got him back, he fit in better. And one of the things that he was saying and his teammates were saying is also because he was speaking better, right? Like he was communicating better. He knew more English now.
Right.
And there is a certain comfort level that goes with that. And so maybe if that had been in place when he was first here to help with that transition, that may have helped. So I think it's a good point by Neil, but it's definitely, like you said, I think that's too little too late because we're expecting immediate results now. So if we bring in a guy now that can help him with this language transition or whatever like that, like we're expecting it even quicker. We're already expecting results now.
Yeah, I've been thinking about it, and him and Yamamoto and really Fogel too, if you want to include that. But they're all really streaky scorers. I mean, it comes in bursts for them, and then it goes completely dry. And last year it was Puljujarvi at the start and Yamamoto at the end, and I'm just hoping they'll both catch fire, kind of just before the playoffs, and it'll carry through into the playoffs. But this team needs them. Needs production out of both of those guys, and especially now with Kane out. Yeah.
Yeah. When Hyman was out there that one game, that was very noticeable. He was out. But yeah, Kane. Like we're trying to make up 30 goals, really, right? So
yeah.
So you're going to need that from these guys for sure, especially from those two in particular that you brought up, Yamo and Puljujarvi. Yamo has shown he can do it, and then kind of tailed off. And Puljujarvi has all the capability of doing it, but has never really shown that he can maintain it.
I had Kane pegged for 50 this season, so maybe I'm the reason why he got hurt. I jinxed him.
I had him down. I didn't even think he'd stick on that. Like last year, he was on pace for 40-some goals. I kind of figured that would level off, but even like 30 goals, let's face it, it's nothing to sneeze at. It's still one of the best scorers in the league to score 30 goals.
Yeah. I mean,
I think I'm down like 36 or something like that is what I was called for.
Yeah. We'll probably stay on for about another 10 minutes to talk to Neil here because he seems to be the guy that.
I got good feedback here. He's brought up some good points too.
Yeah. With Puljujarvi, a thing came out today about talking to a Finnish
paper.
Yeah, a Finnish paper, allegedly, and I feel bad for him. He's I guess there's part that it's part of professional sports that you will get criticized when you're not performing and praised when you are, and unless you're Darnell Nurse, then it seems like you're criticized all the time, but by the fan base anyway.
Really?
Yeah. And it made me think. Last year we had comedian friends with Lars Kallio. From Australia, Bloke Franklin, Chris Franklin out of, I think he's out of Melbourne, Australia. And, he had an interesting perspective. Basically, he watches a lot of Aussie rules football. And they don't really, have a whipping boy on their team. They kind of support everybody. And he couldn't believe, the fan base, how they get after Koskinen, really. But there's always somebody, right? And you could go back to Horkoff getting dogged for his contract. I think Horkoff gave you everything that he had pretty much every night. Wasn't his fault. Kevin Lowe decided to give him the money that he did. I mean, if somebody offered to pay me that much to play hockey, I sure would. And I feel like that way for Nurse. I mean, everybody goes after him, and I take the devil's advocate approach to it. What would this team be like without him? And it's frightening. I mean, he is definitely not perfect. He definitely makes his share of mistakes. He has troubles, I think since he's had it as a rookie with Reed sometimes in his own end, and there's a lot of icings that happen because of him. But People see the icings, but they don't really see the forwards sitting at the red line way out in front of everybody waiting for a pass, and he's just trying to hammer it off somebody's stick and start a play. And Chiarelli kept bridging the guy and passing it down the line, his contract, and so he cashed in. And I don't think he's a $9 million defenseman, but I don't have to pay his salary, so that part really doesn't concern me. Neil says Nurse needs a better partner. CC would probably be better served to be kind of your second right shot D, but as of right now, he's probably the best right shot D that we have to go with Nurse. Bouchard and Barrie are fairly similar at this stage of the game, I would say, and I've seen more consistency out of Barrie this season. He hasn't frightened me quite as much as days gone by. I haven't. I don't mind what I see out of Tyson Barrie. I think Bouchard has more high-end talent and good passing ability, and we all know about a shot. I learned that the first time I seen him at the Prospects game, Joey Moss Cup or whatever. I walk in and he lets a snapshot go from right around the circles, and it whizzed like just over the crossbar, hit the back of the glass, and I was just walking in with my mom, and I'm like, whoa, and thought it was coming right through the glass and hit me in the face. But yeah, no, he can definitely shoot the puck. I people saying trade him, like his asset or his you can get a lot for him or whatever, and I'm saying no, you hang on to that guy. And it's not every day you draft a defenseman that has more points in the OHL than Drew Doughty. So I mean, to me that tells me he's special. He's got to work on his defensive game, but I think that can be taught, and I think he can learn that. I don't think he can learn that shot and kind of the offensive ability that he has.
Well, truthfully, Bouchard's not even in his prime yet. So yeah, he's still developing his game exponentially. Like there's gonna be, like you say, ebbs and flows, and you're seeing that in Bouchard. Like he's had some spectacular games, and he's had some stinkers of a game.
Yeah.
I also agree with you that I find him and Barrie to be actually, I thought your whole analysis on the D there was dead on there, Dirsa. Barrie and Bouchard have had very similar years this year. Nurse is our best defenseman, and that's also one of the reasons why he does get picked on a lot, because he plays 26, 27 minutes a game. So we see a lot of,
that's a lot of time to find holes. Yeah.
We see a lot of him, and mistakes always stand out more than the good stuff, especially for a D-man, because you don't see Nurses. It doesn't make the Paul Coffey, Bobby Orr plays, right? Like he will jump up in the rush from time to time, but he's much more defensive focus than the offensive focus, as opposed to the your D guys that get all the glory, right? So we see him make his defensive mistakes, and they stand out because we'll see him make 2 or 3 of them in a game, and because of all the ice time he gets. There's probably a guy like Kulak is probably making as many in about 5 minutes less ice time, right? But we don't notice it as much because he's not our go-to guy.
So Neil has just invited himself on our next show. He says you guys should really just have me on the show, although that would decimate the viewership.
Neil, I will talk hockey to you any day. I thought he's brought some good points and has really fed the conversation, so I appreciate that from Neil for sure.
Yeah, maybe I guess, sorry, I'm mumbling, mixing my words up, but sometimes Barrie and Bouchard, you think one becomes expendable over the other, and I'm sort of glad that hasn't happened yet, but at some point I think it has to. I think it's inevitable. I think there needs to be a shift. For years, my big people that would knock Nurse, I think, came at it from a standpoint of analytics and all the love in the world for Oscar Klefbom, and this team could use Oscar Klefbom, no doubt. He was a heady player, good shot, good passing and good skater, and just a good steady defenseman. But I don't think you can have 6 Oscar Klefboms and have a Stanley Cup. I think you need a mix, and I think what this team is sorely lacking is that Adam Larson type gritty, tough bitch to play against defensive defensemen. Like, out of all the 6 guys that we put on the ice, who's the defensive defenseman?
Yeah. No, we don't have one.
No.
I guess technically it'd be CC, but even then he jumps up to play a lot more times than a defensive defenseman would do.
When is the last time you've seen CC punish somebody?
No, I hear what you're saying. But I meant just as a defensive defenseman. Yeah, when it comes to the nasty side with the defensive side, we don't have that.
That's memorable. I mean,
yeah.
Nurse gives a couple of cross checks in that, and you get a bit of that from Darnell, but really there isn't one that they dress on a night in, night out basis, unless it's Niemelainen.
Well, Niemelainen. The thing is with Niemelainen, I don't even think that he throws hits. I don't think he is that gritty, nasty guy, right?
And you can't have him in your top 2.
No, you can't. Not, especially not yet. No, 100% no.
And that's what's really needed. Like, Nurse needs that partner, right? I think that needs to be Nurse's partner.
You're not wrong. I don't think you're wrong. No, for sure.
Yeah.
But do you also think? Do you think we're missing a guy like Chris Russell?
Chris Russell was a 7th defenseman. If you're clamoring for a 7th defenseman, I don't think you're going towards the Stanley Cup. You might be a little bit more competitive right now, but I don't think that wins you a cup. I think it probably improves the penalty kill somewhat, and this team definitely can use that. But I just don't think that's the over the top, put the hammer down, sly kind of move there. No, I think you need more than just a Chris Russell in this lineup to.
I was interested to. I was wondering if you were going to bring up the penalty kill when I mentioned Chris Russell. So that's where I was kind of leaning at that. Like, I was going to mention his name to see if you brought up penalty kill because of the fact that has been a pretty glaring weakness, and he was pretty solid back there. But I agree with you. He was a 7th defenseman. He is kind of what Ryan Murray is to us now, who in my mind has been fairly ineffective though as a rule. You could have stabilized that, but you're right. That'd be more of a penalty kill specialist kind of need. Yeah. And we need more than that from our back end, for sure.
Neil's, I think, agreeing with you, saying Russell is better than Ryan Murray.
Yeah, Ryan Murray's been disappointing to me.
And still available. Yeah. You know what? I don't think that moves the needle enough. Like, it's not enough. If you're gonna make changes, if you're gonna bring somebody in and you're gonna actually take away from development time from Broberg and Bouchard really and kind of all those guys, it's got to be substantial, I think, to
100% it does, yeah,
to do it. And you solidify that top right shot guy, and I guess that could be Erik Karlsson, but I don't like him and Nurse together. But and he's not a defensive defenseman either. That's just straight offense. But if you can get that pairing kind of sorted out with, a clutch right shot D guy, and Trouba again, Neil saying, then I think you can ship out Barry, and then you can move CC down a spot, and him and Bouchard can duke it out over kind of your second right shot guy, or split the time between them, so it's not really like you've got a third right D. That's what this team needs, I think, to kind of be in contention to, kind of being just kind of on the fringe to being a legitimate contender.
Well, but and we were with the D core we have here, missing. Who were missing? Keith and and Russell.
Yeah.
Like, the rest of the core is there, and we were a District contender. We were top 14, so we are a tweak or so away from doing that again. And there's no reason why we couldn't make it the top 4 again.
Yeah, it's funny. Me and Dash fought all year last year about Duncan Keith, and now everybody talks about how much we miss him.
Well, I like that signing because he was a veteran presence. We didn't sign the Duncan Keith of the early 2000s. We signed your late 30s Duncan Keith. That's who we signed to bring some stability, to bring some leadership. The only problem I had with Duncan Keith's deal was the fact that we didn't get Chicago to retain any of the salary. That was
Me too.
That was the big one.
Me too. And
other than that, he was a very solidifying factor back then.
Yeah, and we send Caleb Jones and a pick, and I don't think we needed to send the pick. But
the Caleb Jones thing was fine. The extra pick and then not retaining salaries, geez, that's a bit much. But yeah, he is one of those guys that you didn't realize what you had till he's gone, right? And I think a lot of the fan base is kind of realizing that too.
Yeah, I mean, I wasn't like over the moon about the signing, but I knew it would help. I watched Duncan Keith enough to know that what kind of skater he is, what kind of force he is, kind of like behind the net, and there's a little bit of nasty there that isn't with this team anymore. Those little butt end jabs and cross checks and just that meanness, and I think you need that, and especially in the playoffs. Those little jabs and shots, and they accumulate over time.
They do.
And
they totally do, yeah.
He played hard. Not like Zach Hyman playing hard, but just a hard game, like a
heavy game. He played a heavy game, man.
Yeah.
Like everything. Like he throwing his body in there, but even his passes were heavy. Like those were some his passes were just lasers. Like, holy smokes, you gotta get your soft hands out to receive those passes.
Yeah, and I think that I know that the mindset there is that if you're gonna pick it off, it's gonna break your stick. So, or it's going down into your end because I'm not pissing around. No,
I would have been okay with him for. I would have been okay with him for a second year. I wouldn't have done more than that with him. And it still doesn't really address our right-handed defensive need. I did like the re-signing of Barrie for a while. I've always kind of thought that Barrie's defensive game is kind of underrated. I think he's gained some confidence in that area a little bit by having Woody throw him on the odd PK shift.
I think it's gotten better as he's kind of went on here as an Oiler. Honestly, I don't see. I think his skating. I don't know if he was hurt maybe last year or something, but it seemed like he was getting cooked last season like a lot, and I don't see that happening as much anymore. So I don't know if it's his skating's improved or he just recognizes that he needs more distance between him and the guys attacking him, or what it is. But his defensive play is better.
It could be workload related too, although it's only quarter of the season away. But I think he's actually getting less ice time this year than he was last year at this point. I think he was getting top pairing ice time last year as well.
Yeah,
and
maybe giving
I'll catch up on you.
Maybe giving Bouchard more, power play time eases it for him too. See, right now I you like Bouchard's the threat of his shot on the point there on the PP, but I like Barrie's poise. Like his decision making, I think, is a little bit more refined than
and that just comes with experience. So like Bush will get that eventually, but yeah, you're absolutely right though. Barrie may, because a lot of times now here, Bouchard's been going through a streak of about 10 games here where he's having problems getting the shot through, getting lots blocked. I mean, he had that one game where he scored 2 goals. Like, okay, finally, you found the answer. But he had 2 again today that were blocked early from a shot from the point. So that's still something he's working on. Whereas Barrie seems to be a lot more wiser on when to push the puck through there or when to dish it off to the corner or into the sideboards.
These little chats with us tend to go on. It's been an hour and a half, and we're 12 minutes 12 minutes to midnight.
It's been an hour and a half, buddy.
Yeah.
That's why it's been an hour and a half.
Yeah. We'll put Neil to bed at midnight. I promise, but we can go a little longer. Yeah. Oh man. So
I'm going to the game. Yeah. This another thing I was going to bring up. So you were talking about the American broadcasters or the American fans sort of thing. So I was watching the Minnesota Anaheim game that was on TV not that long ago, and this was shortly after Minnesota had beat the Oilers, and they were comparing the Minnesota Wild play-by-play guy or color guy. Were talking about how they were having a conversation about how Kaprizov had basically owned McDavid that game. They came up with 5 of the most obscure stats I've ever heard of in my life. Now when it comes to hockey, like I love the analytics side. I believe there's a place for it. Obviously, it's not the do-all, end-all, but I love diving down that rabbit hole and finding all these kind of stats and comparisons, sort of thing. So these were stats they came up with that I'd never even heard of before. So that's how deep they went to try to come up with 5 reasons or indications of how Kaprizov was better than McDavid. And that was the argument they were trying to make. And then they ended it by saying, yeah, McDavid might win the scoring race, and maybe by a good margin. But seriously, is he going to win you a playoff series? And all I can think about is, he won 3 last year. Kaprizov hasn't won 1. Like, what are you guys talking about? Where is that need where people need to knock down the top players? Like Gretzky had this too, Crosby had this too, where you got guys just bringing them down. Like they don't want to believe these guys are as good as they are. Like for them, that's not even a fair comparison to Kaprizov. Kaprizov is a great hockey player, a phenomenal hockey player, an elite hockey player. But it's not even fair to compare him to McDavid.
No,
McDavid doesn't have anybody in the league that he can be compared to.
No. He's not even in the conversation, really. Like, you know, you're probably a tier three kind of player, you know, and Connor's kind of in a tier by himself. Some nights Draisaitl's kind of in the same tier, but
so over
the course
of the Austin Matthews thing, right? So everybody comparing, I take Matthews over McDavid any day, and la 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 la.
Yeah, no.
And again, to me, that's not even fair to Austin Matthews. And Austin Matthews is, in my mind, I think he is the best goal scorer in the league. He is a great hockey player, but there's no way that Dubas wouldn't trade Matthews for McDavid heads up. No way. Of course he'd do it. Of course he would. Everybody would. Everybody in the league would trade their very best player for Connor McDavid.
All right,
heads up.
let's put on our hypothetical highway GM hats here. And I'm the Toronto Maple Leafs, and I offer you Matthews and Marner for McDavid. Do you take it?
So the other thing... so now you have 2... see, how do you look at this from a third party? Because number one, obviously, I'm so madly in love with Connor McDavid by now, so I'm totally invested in him. Do you think 2 elite players? Jeez.
It's not enough.
You don't think it's enough?
No. I wouldn't do it.
I don't want to say I want to do it, but I'd have to give that one more thought than that.
I don't think it's enough. I think he's more valuable than both of those 2 combined.
I can't necessarily disagree.
Yeah, no, I don't think it's enough. I think
Although I did have this argument not that long ago where...
I think if you're the Leafs, you have to add a sweetener.
Yeah.
And isn't that a tough pill to swallow?
Yeah, it would be. Now you got me thinking on that one for a while. That's going to take us a minute if I just think about that.
And I'll put a disclaimer on it. You're not in the Peter Pocklington needing to save your fucking business scenario.
Just selling everything. Yeah. So if, like, say everybody made the same salary, kind of take salary out of the equation, right? If you go to player,
it's not a cap issue. It's just
player value. Yeah.
Yep.
Man, it would be tough. Now, I've said this before. I'm like, the only trade I'd ever accept for Connor McDavid is the entire Colorado Avalanche team for Connor McDavid.
I mean, that makes it a tougher question. Like, we're playing the hypothetical GM game now. You know, if Colorado offers you Cale Makar and I don't know, Ratinen or something like that, then I think you might have to think about it.
Because now you're also addressing a team need where we need somebody on defense, right?
Yeah. And not even that. I mean, just value for value. I think what Cale Makar does with the Avalanche, I don't think it's as much as what Connor McDavid does for the Oilers or the league. So I don't think that's an even swap. But if you add another effective piece to that, I think you might be talking turkey. I think it's closer, you know, Makar and Ratinen for McDavid than Marner and Matthews for McDavid.
Yeah, I'm gonna agree with you now. So now when you throw in that Avalanche scenario as well, then I kind of see the reasoning now behind the saying no to the Matthews and Marner over McDavid, because in the end you're getting two great players. You're getting up the greatest player in the league, and you're grabbing two players of basically guys you already have in lineup when it comes to like Draisaitl and Evander Kane kind of stuff, in the same kind of mode, but maybe not as elite as the Leaf guys were. But now if you do the Avalanche factor in with Makar, like even on a deep Avalanche team, he is still the quarterback of that team.
Yeah, I mean, if you're Colorado, you're not pulling the trigger on that.
How do you say no to the best player in the world?
Because you got a pretty good stud defenseman.
You probably got the best D-man in the world. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. If you're Edmonton, I think you think about it, but if you're Colorado, you turn it down.
This the hypothetical highway that you're building is getting pretty muddy both times. Eh?
It's to draw in the fringe viewers, I guess.
It's a Grand Prairie road that's always under construction. So.
That's right. Yeah. Oh, what else are you going to talk about at 4 minutes to midnight?
Who would you say right now? Let's stay in my lane now and talk goalies. Who would you say right now is the best goalie in the NHL after the 1 quarter mark?
Yeah, World Hockey Report had a tweet on about.
Oh, really?
Yeah, if you were giving out the Vezina today, who would it be? And I would probably. Well, I did say Hellebuyck. I think Winnipeg resurrecting itself from where it's been is a large part due to what he's been doing there, and I think he would be the guy I would lean to.
Which I think is a great answer. I have Hellebuyck as my in my top three as my third one. I had Sorokin. I think has been great. He is the Shesterkin right now of
New York.
New York. Yeah. Night in and night out, boy. He gives a fairly average Islander team a chance to win every game. So.
Yeah. Winnipeg's still got a decent team there. They're pretty well balanced.
Yeah, they got some good depth there too. It's good to see Shifley finding his game in there. Wheeler's still playing strong. Kyle Connor has potential to be a 50-goal scorer. Yeah, lots of good depth there. Even with the loss of Chuba, which I think does affect him quite a bit. But the way Hellebuyck's playing now, he's kind of offsetting that.
So we got about 3 minutes to midnight here. What do you think goes on the rest of the season here with this group?
With the Oilers?
Yeah.
Well, we are going to get, eventually Kane back. We're getting Fogle and McLeod back, so that's just as good as a trade, more or less, when you get these guys back in the lineup. I think they're, especially guys like Fogle and McLeod, they also play that role of you don't really know what you have until it's not in the lineup. And now we do kind of realize that McLeod is an effective penalty killer, and our penalty killer is struggling at best, and now we lost an effective penalty killer. Fogel's hustle and battle for loose pucks. Like you see it evident now on that third line when we're not winning pucks. Battles in the corner at times, right?
It sucks for him. He was just starting to kind of come on there, and then he got hurt.
He came up. He got hurt in his best game of the year. Like I thought, like he was everywhere that game. And McLeod had a solid game that game as well. So it was noticeable when they're just coming off those strong games how all of a sudden that's not in your lineup. So
Yeah,
you're trying to replace that with Costin and Hamblin and who are doing their part, trying their best, but that's a little tough case to fill, especially after the streaks they were on.
I think the word too on McLeod there was high ankle sprain. So.
And have you had one of those before?
No.
Oh, those things linger forever, man. It's crazy.
When I was younger, like, well, I still do, I guess, but I played a ton of basketball, and I would always land on people's feet and
ankles. Oh my goodness.
Yeah, like, you know what? I probably rolled my ankles more before I was 12 than people do in their whole life, and knock on wood, I've had pretty good success, not really having any ankle problems to speak of. But now that I'm into my 40s, when I play, it's not my ankles, it's my Achilles. I can feel it sometimes tighten up, and one of those happens, and I'm not playing sports anymore. So that's the thing I'm cautious of. But last 2 years, I've been really healthy, so knock on wood that continues. I'm at
the age now where I'm sore all the time, so I don't know if I'm hurting something or not.
I definitely have to stretch, though. I should ask you too, like Michael, he's probably, I don't know, gone or whatever, but he hasn't talked. It's just Neil. Neil's the whole chat, like everything on there.
Neil's the man.
Yeah. He brought up last night on his show that we're going to do another Oilers Live Cup. Haven't really announced when yet, but usually they go to the community rink at Rogers and play there in the afternoon, and then most of the time there's an Oiler game that night or something. We try to make it so you can kind of do both, play a game and watch a game. When's the last time you put gear on? And is that something that could happen?
Not as a goalie. I can't. I have been a goalie in 10 years, and because my knees can't do it. The next time I sprain my knee, they're going to have to replace it, they said. So I've had 3 knee surgeries in the back surgery from my goalie days.
Can you be like a lazy left winger and play out then? Is that
what though? I am playing in my first organized hockey in 5 years this year. I played a lot as a forward or D man in Grand Prairie, but I haven't played much since I moved here. Just playing shinny hockey more or less. So I finally able to join a league here, and I'm having so much fun, man. I've missed playing like in a league where there's actually standings and you're playing for stuff. It's a blast.
You're living in Edmonton now, right?
Beaumont, yeah.
Okay, yeah. Oh, so you?
Yeah, I'm in. Actually, I was going to talk to Michael about it. I was going to beg him to give me a shot. So give me a tryout for the Oilers Live Cup.
Correct me if I'm wrong, but was Lacrete home once upon a time?
Yeah, that was born and raised there. I lived there for my first 19 years.
So you kind of went from one sort of French town to another then?
Actually, that's not a French town. It's got a French name, but it's about as German as it gets, man. Mennonite country.
I know, I'm teasing. Oh, man, freaking camera keeps going blurry on me. Anyway.
Yeah, I was going to shoot Michael a message yet to ask for a tryout, so I feel good.
So would you rather play, like, forward or D then, I guess is my question.
I prefer forward, but they've had me playing D all year, and I don't mind it. I'll play whatever. Like, I honestly don't care. Yeah. But when I played in Grand Prairie, I played forward most of the time. I'd go back on D when we had either too many forwards or not enough D, one of the things. And here, I got through a mutual acquaintance, friend of mine got on this team, and the first thing they said, well, we need defensemen, so can you play defense? And I'm like, I can make mistakes in any position, it doesn't matter. So.
So I don't know what's going on with the camera, but I think that signals time to shut her down.
It's eyes are closing. So.
Yeah. Yeah, we made Neil go blind here. Thanks for watching, Mr. Garrity, and yeah, we can definitely hook you up with another appearance on the Heavy Hockey Network.
Yeah. Hey, Dirsa, I really appreciate having me on. I always do. I love talking hockey. Love talking hockey with you, and keep doing what you're doing. You guys are putting on a good thing here.
Yeah. Thanks for coming on, Bob, and thanks for watching, Neil, and subscribe.
Thanks, Neil. Thanks for the feedback and the info, buddy. That was awesome.
Yeah, the back and forth makes it go. One day I'll figure out how you can see it too on your end, Bob, when you're on your phone. Thanks everybody for watching. Keep your sticks on the ice. Keep reaching for the stars. Hopefully next show my camera works a little better. Go Oilers, go. Good night.
Recording stopped.